The membership of this table tennis club holds up a mirror to the broader demographics of Japan. The younger members are greatly outnumbered by their older counterparts. Currently, more than a quarter of Japanese people are above the age of 65, and the cost of care is rising sharply. Japan was the first country to experience the pressures of an aging society, but more than 100 nations will soon face similar problems.
Asia's elderly population is projected to reach 922.7 million by the middle of this century. As a result, Asia is on track to become the oldest region in the world. The policies and systems of governments in Asia are hardly prepared for this vast demographic shift. Massive rural to urban migration will further strain the rural area's ability to provide care for the elderly, as personal savings and family support remain the primary pillars of old age care. As a result, the gap between the number of elderly in rural and urban areas is expected to balloon to 11% from today's 1.24% over the next 15 years. More than 95% of Japan's rural elderly still adhere to the traditional practice of seeking old age care within their families, but families are no longer able to cope, with youth and even middle-aged people heading to cities to find work, leaving the elderly behind to fend for themselves.
So, what are your thoughts on the way that foreign countries do?
Foreign countries are in all different stages. So, for example, in Japan, they don't really have. Korea and China don't really have a long-term care system now, because it used to be families would take care of their seniors, they'd stay at home, right? And that was it. But now that they have two people, families working, they don't have it. So they're struggling right now with what do we do with the aging population.
The United States, though typically an underperformer among developed nations on things like public health and income equality, actually outperforms much of the developed world here. It ranks above Iceland, Japan, Britain, and much of Europe. Education and employment opportunities for elderly Americans are some of the best in the world, actually second best, behind only Norway.
Well, obviously we have the same problem, as do many other European countries. We're facing aging populations. People are living longer. The technology makes it possible for people to live longer, but that doesn't mean that they can always have the same kind of quality of life they had when they were younger. So what's happening in the U.S. is that we really do have a lot of nursing homes, which is the highest level of care for some of the most seriously ill, complex patients. They need a lot of care. But that said, the preferred place of care in the U.S., and I'm sure in this country as well as every other country, is not in a nursing home. That is the last place you want to go. So people really want to stay in the home and kind of age in place to the extent they can. So, and the families want that. It's a cheaper kind of care to the healthcare system.
I took the stool and I climbed up in the cupboard. I was looking for something, and I climbed up in the cupboard, and I thought, oh, what am I doing up here now? How am I going to get down? But however, I got down without any trouble. But I was thinking about it after, and I thought, now that was a foolish thing to do. I'm alone. If I fall, I've had it. I mean, there's, it's all right if you can get to the phone or something, but you might lie here for 2 or 3 days before somebody would find you.
And long-term care as much as possible. And the second is we have to restructure the insufficient such social system to be more efficient. Yeah.
You have some public funding of long-term care services, and what that means is that those community supports need to be there. We need to have a lot of home and community-based care. That's what we call it, home and community-based care. That's sort of the academic jargon for it. But what it really means is a smorgasbord of services that allow someone to remain in their home and age in place as long as they can. And that includes meals, it includes transportation to doctors, it includes people to come in and turn a light bulb on or repair, change the light bulb in your apartment, shovel your snow, that kind of service, as well as supportive care, some kinds of lower level physical care that you need. And what we're finding in the U.S. is that we don't really have enough of those.
Older people value their capacity to work because they wish to maintain social contacts and self-worth as well as remain self-sufficient.
So it used to be that when I was in my 40s, I thought 65 was old. And now that I'm not, and they changed the definition of middle age, people are still vibrant and contributing in their 80s. My mother's 82, she works still. So our whole picture of what aging is has changed over time.
Locomotion, or the ability to move from one place to another, is a fundamental feature of human functioning. People who cannot walk cannot accomplish daily activities of living. And older people, as they age, loss of mobility or inability to walk is a major public health problem and occurs most frequently in older people. So we have preliminary evidence that physical activity is an intervention that is potentially very effective to prevent loss of mobility or loss of independence. For that reason,
people with dementia are often confused by strange situations. Here at this dementia village, it might not be real life as most people know it, but it's designed by experts to give residents the safest and most unthreatening version of life possible. Where are we now?
Well, we're on Town Square or whatever, or courtyard. Grote Plein 21, that's Dutch, that's the address of this home. And here live 6 or 7 people with urban lifestyle. And here in this home, the urban is actually old Amsterdam.
Why is it important to recreate the kind of environment that these people would have been familiar with before they got dementia?
That's because they really can feel at home. And if you're in a hospital-like surrounding, every day you'll think, well, I feel okay, I'm going to look for my home. And they'll go away on a search for home. Here, people feel at home and are at home.
Here at Harchway, they run different social activities to give people a sense of normal life, but also that all-important social interaction. Today, it's a flower fair.
Oh, wat een dijk van de meid was dat. Jan zal er ons uit nieuwe stand. Wat een dijk van de meid was dat. Boy!
This is not reality as we know it. It's a controlled environment that allows people to have a life that they're familiar with. But do you ever have that ethical dilemma about deceiving people in that way?
Well, we're not deceiving, but helping people to understand where they are. Because real life outside the Hogewijk is disturbing for these people, and they do not understand that. You see in society that people with dementia can be disturbed because of other people telling them the truth. And the truth is something they cannot cope with and they cannot understand. So this is the truth they can live with.
What are your basic everyday life?
So generally, we ask for money because everything we do for people who don't have money, the government funds us. So without appropriate levels of state funding, we can't hire the staff, we can't do the services we need. So most of the work we do in every session is asking for money. For nursing homes, the money we ask for people who don't have money on Medicaid also applies to people who are private pay, because we have a law that says private pay the same. So if we ever want to give raises to our staff or add more staff or build new buildings, the money has to come from the legislature.
In addition to advocating for more funding for healthcare for the elderly, there are ways you can make a difference in your community. Volunteering to deliver Meals on Wheels or driving older people to medical appointments helps them remain in their own homes, living independently, rather than living in a nursing home or assisted living facility.